Hello, my dear friend. Today let's discover the story of the witches of Zugarramurdi. In the distant northern valleys of Navarre, deep within the shadowy embrace of the Pyrenees, lay the village of Zugarramurdi. Today it sits serene, lush, rustic, forgotten by most. Yet in the early 1600s, its name echoed with dread across Spain and beyond. Not for war, plague, or royal intrigue, but for witches. To really understand the horror, one needed to sense the spirit of the land itself. This was the Basque country, older than Spain and Christianity, a place filled with ancient beliefs, unique languages, and primal gods. Before Christianity arrived, the Basque people worshipped Mari, the goddess of caves who controlled storms and fate, and her partner Sugar, a serpent-like figure who lit up stormy skies. Together they ruled the hidden world beneath the earth. Basque myths were an important part of daily life. Central to these were the Sorginak, witches and wise women who protected ancient knowledge. They weren't the typical witches from fairy tales. Instead, they were healers, midwives, and keepers of old traditions. They knew the secrets of plants and animals, danced under the moon, whispered to the wind, and honored Marie through ancient rituals. However, when the church arrived, it saw their practices as a connection with the devil. Then came the church, not just with crosses, but with the Inquisition. Near the village was a huge limestone cave called the Cueva de Zugarramurdi. Inside, a river named Infierno, Hell, ran through the dark stone, quietly whispering secrets. The cave was vast, 120 meters long, with ceilings 12 meters high. Above it, there was a grassy clearing called Aquelarre, the goat's meadow, where witches were believed to gather at night. Legends said they summoned storms, spoke with spirits, and danced with the devil himself, who took the form of a giant black goat. But what was the real story behind these legends? Some said these rituals were sacred traditions, others suspected rebellion. Then, in 1608, a girl named Maria de Chimildeguy returned to Zugarramurdi from France. Instead of herbs or medicine, she brought back a dark confession. Maria said she had once been a witch. She described midnight gatherings under the moonlight, familiar faces, her friends and neighbors, dancing wildly, chanting forbidden words, and kissing the devil in ritual submission. Out of fear or possibly bitterness, she began naming names. One confession quickly led to many more accusations. Mothers accused daughters, friends turned against each other, and midwives were dragged from their homes. Some accusations were gained through promises, others through threats. Children told chilling stories, bribed with sweets or scared into lying. Soon the line between reality and nightmare disappeared, plunging the quiet valley into darkness. In 1609, the Spanish Inquisition in Logroño learned of these events and swiftly intervened, spreading fear throughout the region. They issued a clear demand: confess your sins, accuse others, or be accused yourself. Silence was dangerous. Accusations spread rapidly. Over 300 people were implicated. 40 people, including children as young as 10, were arrested and taken to Logroño. These children described terrifying experiences of witches carrying them through the sky, strange potions, and rituals at the Aquelarre. Their stories, coached and exaggerated, blurred truth and fantasy under the pressure of the inquisitors. On November 1st, 1610, tens of thousands gathered for a public trial. Suspicion spread to nearby villages: Valle de Bastan, Cinco Villas, Olag, even distant San Sebastian. Families questioned their own children. Neighbors turned against neighbors. Children accused elders and siblings. Some even began to believe their own dark stories. Across Navarre, from Zugarramurdi to Elizondo, Lesaca, and distant Olag, children as young as 5 calmly described impossible horrors in courts and churchyards. They spoke of flying on broomsticks or carried away by witches in animal forms. They told of moonlit rituals, poisonous toads, and kissing the devil. Their stories were terrifying, yet strangely confident, and echoed with eerie similarity from village to village, suggesting fear, manipulation, and desperate parents were at play. Some children were threatened or bribed. Others made up tales for attention or rewards. In Olag, 16 children described cannibalistic feasts, midnight rituals, and flights through storms to Zugarramurdi's cave. Families fell apart, neighbors attacked each other, and some children even accused their own mothers, driving villagers to violence. Amid this darkness came Alonso de Salazar Frias. In 1611, Salazar arrived tasked with finding the truth. For 8 months, he carefully questioned over 1,800 accused people, patiently examining every confession and story. What he found deeply disturbed him. Stories fell apart under questioning. Children repeated phrases they didn't understand. Adults gave nearly identical confessions, as if coached. There were no cursed crops, no poisoned animals, and no marks of witchcraft. He found only fear and madness, confessions gained through torture, threats, bribes, and exhaustion. Children were beaten or scolded if they forgot imaginary stories and praised when their lies satisfied inquisitors. Truth had become tangled with survival. Salazar wasn't a skeptic. He believed in the devil and thought witches could exist. But here in Navarre, he saw only mass hysteria, driven by fear and cruelty. In 1612, he wrote urgently to Madrid, exposing the injustice and cruelty of the trials. He showed the coercion, the lack of real evidence, and demanded an end to the persecution. He called for pardons and freedom for the innocent. Many colleagues opposed him, accusing him of weakness or of being deceived by the devil. But Salazar stood firm. He kept his findings private, refusing to hand them over to those who would hide the truth. Instead, he secretly wrote detailed reports to Madrid, carefully documenting abuses, coercion, lies, and confusion. He recorded over 1,800 cases, children recanting, parents admitting pressure, communities divided by panic rather than witchcraft. For the first time, the Inquisition faced rebellion from within. After 2 years of tireless effort, Salazar's quiet fight succeeded. In 1614, Madrid's authorities issued new rules. Torture alone could no longer be used as proof. Real evidence was now required. Most importantly, those wrongly accused in Logroño's trials were freed from their punishments. They no longer had to live in shame or exile. They could finally return home. Gradually, the fires went out. Quietly, even the Inquisition admitted it had gone too far. Yet Salazar received no praise. He had chosen truth over popularity, and trust among his colleagues broke down into suspicion and bitterness. Still, he remained firm, committed to justice and reason. But the scars remained. Zugarramurdi was forever linked with witchcraft. The cave became legend, its name whispered with fear, and those accused, the innocent women, children, and villagers, would forever be remembered through flames and fear. Those who returned found themselves treated as outsiders, their lands lost and homes filled with quiet hatred. The scars remain deep in their hearts, their souls, and their village. But quietly, in the archives of Navarre, their names endured. Men, women, and children, once accused of witchcraft, now remembered as survivors. In the end, it wasn't the flames that defined Zugarramurdi. It was the silence afterward. By 1614, the witch trials were over. Prisoners returned home, and the Inquisition moved on to other targets elsewhere in Spain. But those who had lived through the horror, those who lost mothers to flames or neighbors to prisons and madness, would never forget. Zugarramurdi remained a deep wound that refused to heal. The cave witnessed everything: elderly women quietly gathering herbs, hiding their knowledge in fear, children whispering lies to priests, frightened into silence. It saw fear settle deeply into the village: fear of the church, fear of the devil, fear of neighbors. Myths turned into laws, and gradually silence took hold. Stories were forgotten, the meadow returned to wild grass, and dust filled the cave's chambers. For generations, people avoided speaking its name. But legends wait patiently. Centuries later, historians revisited the archives. They found names, confessions, and contradictions, realizing what Alonso de Salazar Frias had known all along. This wasn't a story about demons or magic. It was about fear, abuse of power, and communities destroyed by panic. Folklorists revived forgotten myths. Ancient Basque gods, Mari, Sugar, and the Sorginac, were remembered again, not as demons, but as symbols of a rich ancient culture. Zugarramurdi was transformed. The cave was restored. The meadow commemorated. The old stories became lessons instead of secrets. Now children explore, guided by storytellers instead of inquisitors. Where screams once echoed, laughter and curiosity returned, yet something remains. Each summer solstice, Zugarramurdi celebrates Acalari Eguna, the Day of the Witches. Festivals fill the meadow with music, dancing, and joyful fires, gently mocking old fears. People proudly wear goat masks and robes like the Sorginac, reclaiming identities once punished by death. But beneath the festivities, there's still quiet respect for all the cave has witnessed. Fear may be gone, but memory remains. The Inquisition believed it burned away evil, but in reality it destroyed something valuable. Healers, midwives, herbalists, people who brought life into a harsh world. It broke the connection between nature, belief, and daily life. When the flames finally ended, the world left behind was colder, smaller, and more fearful. History judges strangely. It forgets, remembers, then revises. For a long time, Zugarramurdi was known as a village of witches. Today, being called a witch is no longer an insult, but a sign of courage, wisdom, and resistance. Those once labeled as children of the devil are now seen for what they truly were: innocent victims caught in a storm of fear and injustice. Alonso de Salazar Frias, the inquisitor who stood bravely for reason, is remembered quietly, perhaps having saved more lives than we know. He never considered himself a hero, but when madness ruled, he chose truth. Ultimately, it wasn't the devil who won in Zugarramurdi, it was truth. Today, near the cave's entrance, there's a simple stone etched with the names of those burned in 1610. Sometimes people leave flowers, messages in chalk, or quietly lit candles. No words are needed, just a small flame, a gesture of remembrance. Because some stories should never be forgotten. Zugarramurdi remembers. Today, Zugarramurdi remains a small rural village in the province of Navarre, northern Spain, close to the French border. Its historical connection to the 17th century witch trials continues to be a significant part of its identity and a draw for visitors. The caves of Zugarramurdi, the famous limestone cave, Cueva de Zugarramurdi, remains a primary attraction. Visitors can explore its vast chambers and learn about the legends and historical events associated with it. It's a place where history, mythology, and the natural landscape intertwine. The Witch Museum. Located in the village, the museum provides further context to the witch trials, Basque mythology, and the cultural history of the region. It aims to educate visitors about the events that transpired and honor the memory of those who were accused. The grassy clearing above the cave, believed to be the site of the witches' gatherings, is also a point of interest for visitors, evoking the stories of the past. Aquelarre Eguna, Day of the Witch. The most significant event in Zugarramurdi today is the annual celebration of Aquelarre Eguna, held on the summer solstice, around June 21st. This festival is a vibrant reclaiming of the village's history. Spectacular fires are lit inside the cave, a symbolic act that both acknowledges the past burnings and transforms them into a celebration of Basque culture and resilience. The meadow comes alive with traditional Basque music and dancing, festive atmosphere. People of all ages participate, often wearing goat masks and costumes reminiscent of the Sorginag, embracing a symbol that was once feared. The festival is a way for the community to remember their history while also reinterpreting it and celebrating their cultural heritage. Beyond the historical significance and the summer festival, Zugarramurdi is a living village. Its pace is likely still relatively quiet, with agriculture and local traditions playing a role in daily life. The architecture consists of traditional stone houses typical of the Bazdan Valley. In summary, Zugarramurdi today is a village deeply aware of its past, which it now embraces as a unique part of its identity. While it maintains its rural charm, it also welcomes visitors drawn to its history and the powerful stories associated with the witch trials. The annual Aquelarre Eguna is a testament to the village's resilience and its transformation of a dark chapter into a vibrant cultural celebration.